Greetings, everybody. I am an idiot, but this is common knowledge. Anyway, welcome to Wolfinia. This is episode 255 of my Minecraft survival series, and I guess I should probably start by explaining why exactly I'm an idiot. It's because the episode you're watching isn't the episode. It's not this week's episode. I've already filmed this week's episode. Basically, everything we're going to do this episode is already done. You'll notice the floor is torn up here. That's because we did some work down here. We did some work on the storage system. That's all been done. Basically, everything that there was to get done in this episode has already been done. And I recorded that entire episode without checking my audio sources. I looked at the video. I was like, cool, we're recording. Great, awesome. But the sound wasn't moving because I was recording the wrong audio sources. So basically, I recorded an entire episode that looked a little something like this.
Oh, what an idiot.
So yeah, no game sounds, no commentary, no nothing. If I would have given you that episode, it would have been a completely silent episode, which, you know what, maybe that's for the best if I don't talk. But we're gonna instead film a new episode here. And this episode is basically gonna be reviewing what we did previously. Maybe we can do some live stuff, because I don't really like how that looks right there. So maybe we can change up the floor of this building, the ore breaking area, just so we can do something live and together in this episode. So if y'all would do me a favor, just kind of ignore everything you're seeing right now. Basically, as we walk around in today's episode, everything you're not supposed to know about yet, just don't see it. Don't acknowledge it. Don't think it exists. I will explain everything to you as we review what we've done. But right now, I am on the look for my crying obsidian, because you remember how we were looking for crying obsidian a few episodes back? Well, I found it, and we made a place for it in our storage system over here. Now, we don't have a ton of it. In fact, we only have one to spare, but that's fine. We can make one work. You know, I will also ask you guys to ignore everything going on with the storage system right now. It looks like it's up, it looks like it's operating, it looks like it's putting stuff away. Just ignore that. Ignore everything it's doing right now, because I will tell you what right now that the storage system is not done. At most it is, we'll say, half operational. Now, as I was saying at the start of this episode, I don't particularly like how any of this looks down here, so we're going to go ahead and change this up a little bit. Now, I was fine with this when it was just bedrock down here, you know, but the world got bigger and this got uglier. Now, if I wasn't lazy, what I'd probably do is extend the depth of our ore breaking room down to our new bedrock level, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, we're going to replace the floor with obsidian. So our crying obsidian can go here at the center of the room. That's where we'll know to stack up our ores so we can break them down. The rest of the floor, which is currently glass and deep slate, will be switched over to regular obsidian. And I did not pick up nearly enough obsidian, did I? No, I did not. That's fine. Crap! Owie! Y'all ever jump off a high structure and completely miss the floor on your way down? I hate when that happens. Ow! Alright, our floor is now Lobo proof. Excellent. We have our obsidian down here. It's looking much more consistent, not so messy. We do need to make sure that our haste still works, that we can turn it on and off, right? So this should start counting down, and it is continually going down. Great. All right, I think we're probably good here then. So now we can go ahead and start reviewing all the stuff that needs to be reviewed. Basically everything that this episode was supposed to consist of. Now, as we make our way into this area, I am going to ask you to ignore all of this stuff right here because we're not looking at that right now. Ignore this thing right here. I just need to get my raw iron out of it. And pay attention solely to this right here, our blast furnace setup. because we made some changes to this since last episode. You might remember I originally wanted a chest minecart for easy loading. We now have a chest minecart for easy loading. And it's not positioned over top of the furnaces, so we don't get any premature loading, which is great. The output for our smelted up ores is now over here on the floor because we needed to make room for our coal overflow, which is now located right here. So this gives us easy access to our coal storage and even additional coal storage, which is located behind the furnace system. So basically, in the failed first attempt at filming this episode, we made some improvements to our blast furnace setup, we made some improvements to our coal storage, and now it works how I wanted it to work originally. So let's go ahead and first take a look at how the coal storage works. It will fill up the blast furnaces first because that makes sense, but then the overflow will go into this chest, filter down into this chest, and finally filter down a little bit further into the chest we can actually draw the coal from. And that gives us a total of 1, 2, 3, and a bunch of hoppers, 4, 5 chests, and of course the blast furnaces full of coal storage, which is excellent. So basically, it works like this. We put in the ores to be smelted, we turn it on, the ores get distributed into the blast furnaces, and this works pretty well. The last furnace, I think, gets a little bit less than the other ones, so it's not quite equal distribution, but is good enough for me. And then, as far as the output goes, you can see we have ores coming in now, all smelted up, and because this is a blast furnace setup, the ores do come in fairly quickly, even though we only have a 5 furnace array here. So you know what? I am happy with this now. It's working how I wanted it to. And as far as our coal overflow goes, we do have coal flowing into here, which actually does not make much sense to me. Huh. Ah, yes. You remember how at the start of the episode we discussed how I was an idiot? That still applies here. Basically, we had a bunch of coal stocked up here, but it wasn't flowing down into the overflow chest because I had this torch tower right here locking the hopper. So what we're going to have to do then is probably get rid of this right here, and we can kind of just rearrange this in a way that will allow us to not have locked hoppers blocking our coal overflow storage. So if I get this block right here and then place a torch on the opposite side of that, that should give us the same redstone signal, but without interfering with the hoppers, right? Yeah, I think we're good. All right, so now the coal will flow freely through the overflow system, and that is one more problem we will not have to address in a future episode. This is a problem when I do stuff, is like I make little mistakes that we have to address. That's why I have to keep coming back to stuff. But you know what? I think as of now, this thing is hopefully working exactly how I want it to work, right? Let's go ahead and just make sure. Let's make sure. So we still have items to be smelted, but the coal is flowing freely, which means we are probably good now, and hopefully no one component is interfering with another component, and we can move on to something else. Now, one of the big things we managed to accomplish in this episode was to get the bulk storage portion of our storage system more or less functionally complete. In the last episode, we got in the redstone for our indicator lights here. In this episode, we spent a little bit of time first trying to figure out how we were going to lay out the storage system, collecting all the blocks that we were going to need to at least get this thing up and running, start setting up our item filters and all that stuff. But once we had all that figured out, then it was time to get down to business, to start setting up the redstone for our bulk storage system. And you know what? At this point, why don't we go ahead and watch the time lapse and see how that went. Well, welcome back everybody. So as you can see, the bulk sorting portion of our storage system is now up and it is running. And we can actually put some stuff away from these masses of unorganized chests that will go into bulk storage. Sand is one of the things we can store there, but I'm not going to be putting the sand in the bulk storage. I have other uses for this. You may have seen down there that we are using a lot of glass for a different part of this storage system, and we will address that area of the storage system a little bit later in this episode. But for right now, just bear with me because I do need to continuously smelt sand because we are going to go through a ton of it in the next episode, or a ton of glass anyway. We have been using a lot of glass. We will be using a lot of glass. So congratulations, you get to see what the in-between episode restocking process looks like. Man, this episode is it's a train wreck. That's what this is. Anyway, let me go ahead and fill up these shulker boxes and we'll get some more stuff input into the storage system. Alright, we have a bunch of stuff to input into the storage system, so I can give you a little demonstration of how this works. Also, just ignore the fact that we already have a ton of items going through the storage system, because we were putting stuff in there all through the episode. So we're not going to see any of this new stuff that we're putting in there, but you know what, it's just for effect, okay? So we have our items input into the storage system. They are being fed in. I'm not sure why that trapdoor over there is freaking out. None of the other ones seem to be freaking out. Everything is offloading just fine. What in the world? It's like possessed or something. You know, that's fine. That's fine. There's a demon in the storage system. Honestly, that's to be expected at this point. Anyway, any items that can be put away in this above ground area will be put away in the above ground area, but if there's not a place for it up here, those items will then be diverted downstairs into the bulk storage area. Now, some items have made their way down here, including stone. It seems a significant amount of stone has come down here, in fact. And I believe that's the only item we have enough of to turn on the indicator light here, showing that we have more than a full double chest of stone already down here. But keep in mind, we're just getting started. So basically, once items go through the above ground portion of the storage system, they are then diverted this way via a water stream that drops them down into the bulk sorting area. Items then proceed down a hopper line where individual items are sorted out and put into their proper places. We do have labels along the outside here so that way I can easily find stuff. The slime just indicates I haven't dedicated that particular module to anything yet, but we do have a pretty good idea of where everything is going to go. Now, of course, we are using the standard impulse SV item filters for the bulk storage redstone. That trapdoor is still going. My goodness. Now, as far as the layout of this bulk storage section goes, I tried to lay everything out in a way that makes sense. My initial thought was that I would arrange everything here in a way that I would have my most frequently used blocks towards the entrance to this place. But instead, I decided to arrange everything in a way that hopefully makes a little bit more sense. For instance, down here we have like foliage that moves into ground stuff, grasses, dirt. We have our sand, we have our red sand right here. Terracotta, we have our clay that we can make bricks out of. Over here on this side, we have nether stuff. This space is reserved. We don't really have anything in here yet. But if we do decide what we want to store in these chests, we just add that item to the item filters back there. And changing up the layout of this place is as simple as that. Now, I did try to keep a lot of the frequently used stuff here towards the center entrance to this room. For instance, over here on this side, we do have wood to either side of the entrance. That, of course, leads into leaves and stuff like that moving down that way. Over here, we have our stones, and then it kind of goes into more miscellaneous stuff as we get down this way. Now, there are some items that we do get an absolute ton of. For instance, items like dirt, grass. Over here, we have our cobblestone. We will want to have a lot more storage space to devote towards stuff like, cobblestone. And also, of course, stone. We get an absolute ton of stone. In the future, I anticipate we will get a lot of deep slate, a lot of cobbled deep slate, so I am anticipating for that. We also have reserve storage space over to this side in case, we do get other items that we get an absolute ton of. Basically, my hope with this storage system and all this reserve space I have available to me is that this will last for the remainder of my days here in Wolfinia. But now we're going to make our way back into this area, into the ore store, because there was additional stuff we did in here. Let me go ahead and park the minecart real quick since we do seem to be done smelting up our items. And everything here does appear to be looking good at this point, so we can go ahead and give that a little check mark. I think at this point we can say the smelting area of the ore store is now complete. But we do have additional areas to the ore store, and I did kind of rearrange things here a little bit. For instance, over on this side, loose quartz now has its own column of chests, while the ore and other, nether ores like the ancient debris and the netherite we can make from that. And yes, I did make a netherite block this past episode. But basically all these big blocks, these rare blocks, can go into this column right here. Now, unfortunately, we do only have 9 ancient debris left to our name. But it's not like I ever really use this stuff anyway. But just to simplify what I'm trying to say here, our ores, our bigger blocks, our rare stuff, that's going to go in this column, while the fortunable nether quartz will be in here. Same thing applies over here. The fortuned raw gold ore and ingots will be here. Meanwhile, the ore and the blocks are here. So don't be confused by these blocks. The blocks will go into here. The fortune stuff is the stuff that gets its own column. Does that make sense? So the same thing applies to all of our various other ores. For instance, over here we have iron. This is where the ores go. This is where the blocks go. The raw iron and the iron ingots, all that stuff gets stored in this column. Same thing applies to our copper. I put all the smeltable stuff on this side of the room while the non-smeltables are over here. Now, we did get the redstone in to make all this happen. So let's go ahead and roll that footage. And something I just realized is that this is not set up properly because we're going to need a hopper leading into the sorting system, right? So we need a hopper right there. So that way we don't feed items straight into the sorter because stuff tends to not get put away properly when I do that. So this is yet again another problem stemming from the work I did in this episode that was not done. Ow. Not done properly. But we're going to fix it now. So you know what? Maybe having my audio mess up was a good thing, because now I'm going back over everything and seeing the issues. So, I mean, let this be a lesson as to why you should always double check your work. Now, I'm not going to start double checking my work because it doesn't apply to me. I'm just talking about specifically for you guys. For me, you know, not double checking my work just gives me stuff to make future videos about. So I'm all good here regardless. Now, I do need to apply this to all of the different ore modules we have here, so that just means more live content for this episode, which is great, right? So let me go ahead and take care of this, and I'll be back with you guys in just a few. So now we have all of that taken care of. All the redstone for the ore store is good to go. It is now raining, which is just great. That is wonderful. But as you can see, the stuff is sticking up a little bit above where we thought it was going to, but that's not really an issue because the floor of this area is probably not going to be that high. It's probably going to be on this level instead. And let me assure you, this is something I plan to do. I did plan to have a raised floor here in this area. It's not something I'm doing just because, you know, the redstone's sticking up too high or, you know, anything like that. The grass, I suppose, can probably go. There's really no reason to have it here. And look at this, look at this. See, I told you this is what I planned to do. Look at this, we did some planning before. See, I'm not always flying by the seat of my pants here. This was an actual planned thing that I was going to do. All right? So there. Now each section of the ore store is going to have a piece of the multi-item sorter dedicated to it. As I said, these item filters are just to additionally filter out certain items from the multi-item sorted items that will be going to each section. Now we will be bringing items up here to each of these modules where these slime blocks are kind of. So the multi-item sorter is going to be located down here. This is where we're going to be bringing up items from. Now, I don't want you to think that is the multi-item sorter down there. We haven't built the multi-item sorters yet. We will get to those eventually. Now, the reason why I decided to make the decision to have the ore store take up this entire room is mostly because we do have the area available to us. We have the means, the ability to run the water streams through this area because there's nothing really underneath the ore store. And we can easily link this up to the area where we're going to have our multi-item sorters because that is right here. So obviously, you know, my plans are evolving, they're changing because, well, my plans sucked to begin with. But, you know, that's why we're kind of taking this slow and, you know, making sure that, you know, hopefully this is going to be something that we like and that we're going to be happy with. And I can say, as of right now, I am feeling pretty good about this place. Now, speaking of the multi-item sorters, we have one more thing to check out before we wrap up this episode, and we're going to go all the way down here to do it so you don't see any more than what you already have. Basically, the plan is to build our multi-item sorters over here along this back wall. And the multi-item sorters are going to then filter into all of these little individual dropper setups we have here. So let's just go ahead and throw some slime blocks and torches in here, for example. And this is going to shoot whatever items come out of the multi-item sorter into water streams that's going to bring them to wherever they need to be, right? So basically, if we were shooting iron out of here, those are stored up there in the ore store, so they would be routed up through the ore store to the iron section and put away in their proper place. So basically how this works is once items do make their way into the dropper, it will send a signal out through the comparator down to this little observer clock right here that activates and causes the items to shoot out of the dropper. Now, items aren't going to be flying out of these droppers as quickly as they are now. We do feed the items through our storage system much more slowly than this. But, just for example, it's for effect. Oh my goodness, give me these. Done. Now, among the multi-item sorted sections of our storage system is this right here, which is dedicated to mob drops. And mob drops are brought up here via water streams from the multi-item sorter. And we did get a few water streams in. Why don't we watch the time-lapse first, and then we'll talk about them when we come back. So the mob drop section here is one of the sections we have water streams in for. We can go ahead and take this rotten flesh out of here and use that as an example in just a minute. We also have the water streams in for the entirety of the nether section as well. So what we're going to do is just pull the first thing out of each of these bottom chests right here, and we're going to feed that through the water streams and just watch them all reappear in a minute. Over here, this entire section is nether miscellaneous. I had 8 glowstone dust that I fed through here. There's the rest of it. Okay. So these get fed into this section a little bit wonkily, but that's fine. That's fine. We've also got a couple sections over here also linked up. Let me go ahead and just figure out what we're going to input in the storage system, and then we'll go downstairs and input it. This is hooked up, right? Yeah, this is hooked up. All right. Yeah. I've confused myself. All right, we've got some items to input now. We can just make sure all the water streams work. They do work because I tested them before, but we're going to go ahead and test them again so that way I can do it with you guys. So we have our rotten flesh that will go into here. We have our blackstone done. We have the nether brick section done. You can see all that stuff going where it needs to go to the nether section. We have our crimson and warp section. We have nether miscellaneous, which we got the glowstone dust from. We have our wart section. Right here we have diorite. And here we have mud. Now, I don't currently have any mud, so we'll just throw some slime blocks in there. Deep slate. We have deep dark. I don't have any deep dark stuff. Currently, we have our brick section. We have our quartz section. We have our granite section. We have our redstone section. We have our andesite section. So now everything should be going to where it needs to go, and we can probably pick something up. I didn't want to pick anything up. They got some slabs. I did get some slabs. Let's go ahead and make our way upstairs and see if we can catch some of these slabs getting put away, since the andesite section is right up here. So if we hurry along here, we should be able to see those getting put away. The light is on, indicating it is working. There come our slabs. They're getting put away exactly where they need to be. And everything else also got put away. I need these back. Can't leave those in there. Everything else also got put away exactly where it needed to be, which is wonderful. Let me go ahead and just make sure. We'll go ahead and do the rounds, everything, and make sure. So redstone, we had torches that we put in there. Got my torches back. Over here, the nether section, we should see a total of 8 glowstone dust. There's 5. There's the other 3. We can go ahead and put these back in there. Of course, we got our wart, got our stairs, walls, perfect. And if we make our way back over to the mob drop section where we started all this, we should see our rotten flesh. There it is. So, water streams, good. Much more water streams to come. We'll be working on that next episode, doing some more work related to the multi-item sorting next episode. This place is a little hard to navigate because we are using a lot of glass. This is what we're smelting up all that glass for. This is also why I don't clean my windows in real life. Got tired of smacking my face into them. But this is good. You know, I'm feeling good about this. I think this is really going to be worth it when all is said and done. I hope so, anyway. So this episode has been a little bit awkward, mostly because it's not the episode I actually filmed for you guys, but hey, it's an episode nonetheless. I do have all my sounds back, so next episode we should be good. I do have my sounds back, right? Hold on. I need to see some movement. I need to see some sounds. Okay, I see some sounds. We're good. Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. So if you somehow managed to enjoy this episode, please feel free to hit that little thumbs up button. That would mean a whole lot to me. And if you want to see more of Wolfinia, please remember to subscribe. But as always, I just want to thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I deeply appreciate it. And until next time, I am oblivious beyond your imagination. And I will see you guys later.